Anna Mari Fanthorpe, and I'll be your host today. We have a returning guest, and we always love when he joins us on here because he provides us with calls to action. So things that we can do once we leave the session, and we get to see results, and it's a really fabulous way to move forward with our business. So we're going to be talking about essential elements of successful emails today with Glenn from Spike. And we're actually going to touch on some things, what you should be doing now that we're in lockdown. So Glenn thought it would be a good idea to kind of go a little bit more quickly through some elements, but then move into what you should be doing now that we've gone into this lockdown. And I thought that was just a fabulous idea. That's what we love about him. He's a thinker. And so I'm looking forward to getting all of that advice. Now, you could be streaming with us on a number of platforms. So use the comment section, the chat function, the Q&A function in order to engage with us here today. We want to get your questions answered. So do drop them in those areas and make the sessions bespoke to your business. And also, sometimes people are a bit scared. So, you're doing them a favor by asking questions. Now, if you're not registered at Digital Boost, you watch these sessions with us online. Well, why not? Go ahead and get registered at digitalboost.co.nz, because that's where people like Glenn put special offers, and you don't have access to those unless you're registered. There's also so much other great content on the site. There's competitions. You could win things. So you should get registered. That's what I think. Glenn, thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much for your time. We're always really delighted to have you on here on Digital Boost.
Thank you. Morena, everyone. I know some of you have been listening, so shout out to my favorite printer, Josh Lindsay from dmail.co.nz, who messaged me to say that we were live. Best printer in Auckland, by the way.
Awesome.
Anyway, awesome. So today, well, he's not printing today, so he's got time to watch us, right? So cool. We'll talk about that later, I think, in the Q&A. So I don't know, I'm going to go a bit quicker through some of this stuff, I think, because at the end, I know we usually get a lot of questions. Today we might have some extra ones. Let's talk about how this is going to affect you, what template you have in place potentially to fire an email out today, to get a message out there.
And to really stay in your customer's face, right? Like if that's your business or what have you, I think that's really important. This is a great opportunity to, just add another thing, add a skill, add a template.
Yeah, just have it there ready to go. Like, is this going to happen again? Man, who knows, but maybe. So you've got to be ready. One of our customers had an email out last night because he was in MailChimp, ready to go, got the thing, fired it out, we set up a template, gone, easy. Because we don't always have time to log into our clients. So as long as they've got something in MailChimp that they can fire out and feel comfortable doing that, So let's if you've got questions, start loading them up.
Yeah, load them in the Q&A and chat. I'll be checking it out throughout the session. Glenn's always advocate asking questions or answering questions. You also ask good questions. So I'm going to drop my video off so I can just make sure we're everywhere. And but I'm here.
Cool. Right. Oh, crikey! This is where we had a bit of a thing last time where.
Oh, here we go, Glenn.
Yeah, I think you're about to see a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want you to see, because I was busy this morning. I was quite busy still working on this, and so let's
have a look. No, we're good.
We're good. So you're seeing this fresh.
I've
also not had time to print out my notes, so I've been very careful to. I'll leave my camera on, and I've been very careful to make sure I've learned what I'm going to say today. Anyway, so we're going to rock into the essential elements of a successful email, and the outcome today is to learn how to put together an email worth reading. Now, if you haven't, or if you are a person who's been on some of my other workshops, I'm going to touch on some of those same things because it all works together to make a successful email. And by the way, just as an addendum, like we're talking about customer communication, right? Customer communication is what we're doing. And right now, in fact, for the last 20 years, email has been the most effective way to communicate with your customers. It's still the most effective way. It has the highest return on investment. It's still sitting at like $40 to 1. And so that's why I still talk about email marketing, even though in reality we're covering, Facebook, SMS, Messenger. There's a lot more that we do, but this is still the most effective thing. So I'm Glenn from Spike. For those of you new, usually I have a caricature, and just the last thing I decided to put a photo of myself. Look, I'm on a mission to help businesses win with their marketing. And it's because I believe that the value of your business is in your customer database. And I think that that is where you should be spending most of your time, building your customer database and staying top of mind with it, with effective communication. And I'm going to use the word effective probably a lot today because, we all talk about efficiencies and we all talk about, getting things done, like all that, but you can be super, super busy. And as some of the people we've talked to on Digital Boost, they've been super, super busy on Facebook, for example, and it's not effective. And that's because they're not using social as a tool. They're actually thinking that that's a really good use of their time. And actually, for most businesses, it's not a good use of your time. You should be concentrating on building your customer database, writing emails, blogs, things like that, right? So what we're going to cover today, the elements of an effective email. So I'm going to start, like, I believe that the elements are design, the top of the email, the content, the footer, and I'm going to go through the top 5 mistakes that I see a lot of people doing. And as a MailChimp Power Partner, we see a lot of this in MailChimp especially. So design. If you want to know a lot more about design, there was a workshop where we really dived into this. So this one today is like, I see design as an essential element. So we're just going to touch on it, but you can go back and watch some of those others. But design is about how it looks. It's the tone of the copy. So the tone of the copy is where you can add some personality. This is where you can personalize it to a point too, right? And think about the individual that you're sending the email to. If you think about it as in the context of public speaking, the idea is kind of just like to pick maybe 1 or 2 people in the audience that are potentially your target audience or are your target audience, and just talk directly to them. Because if you do that, you'll act as though you're talking to a person, say, at your stall or in your store, and so you'll just talk a lot more normally than what some people do when they start writing their emails. So the tone of your copy, navigation, how people get through your email, we're going to look at that. The length of the email, like how long. This 102 kilobyte limit, we're going to touch on that because I'm still seeing a lot of emails cut off, and so we'll go into that. And think about the maximum width, always 600 or 700 pixels, and it'll look good on desktop and good in mobile. The other thing is just there's a lot of designers out there doing work for people, and they do a fantastic job. But a lot of the times they're print designers, and they're actually designing for print. And print, you can actually put a lot of copy onto an image, say, and it'll work, but an email, not so much. So you need to think about the balance of text and copy, and just remember that you can use text, and text is great for inbox placement. But just thinking about that, keeping that top of mind when you're designing and drawing out your email. I mean, for us, every email basically starts as a drawing on a piece of paper. Like that's literally where we start. And because we think about what we want to say and the order that we're going to lay things out, and we kind of draw it up. And from there, it makes it a lot easier. So have a think about that. And we'll come to that near the end when I talk about making it easy to do content. So let's start at the top. So the top of the email, if you think about your inbox, you have the from. So in this case, Jenny Franich. The subject line, so it's a jewelry design contest, enter now. Like pretty plain, right? We know what we've got to do. We know who it's from. It's from Jenny. And Jenny has got, we signed up to her email. We have, that builds trust. That's actually the trust. Like that's why we would open this email, because it came from Jenny. So that's where it starts. Then she's created some curiosity around this jewelry design competition. Well, that could be interesting. I want to know more about that. And then she's got a pre-header, which, you know, in this particular email, she's talking about that they're experts in repairs, remakes, and jewelry remodeling. But that's where it starts, right? Right from the very top, thinking about who it's coming from. Is it you? Like I like names. You know, I hate no reply. No reply is just, it's a horrible thing. Like, you know, and then because everyone wants to reply, that's the natural thing that we do in email, is just hit reply. And so when you see no reply, to me, that's just like, hey, I'm sending your email, but wow, talk to the hand. Like, you know, you're not coming. It is basically talk to the hand. And but I've got a loudspeaker in behind, and it's just not friendly. And so, you know, try not to have no replies in your business. Have it go somewhere, you know, that it can be dealt with later. You know, I've talked a lot about subject lines. This is a nice, short, to the point subject line. And then the pre-header, you know, this is pretty, for her, this is how it works, right? Because she wants to really drive that point home, that they are experts in repairs, remakes, and jewelry remodeling. So almost every pre-header will have that. But what we could have done is Jenny Franich, jewelry design competition. Here's what the competition's about. Enter now to win, blah, 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 right? So we could have carried on in the pre-header there. Like there's so many options for design, right? There's so many, from these product-based ones on either side, with the one from Blue Shark has got the navigation at the top, which is really useful for some people. And you can see, and this is really subtle, but you can see a blue underline underneath the nylon. So now, but then you might notice that these are nylon straps. So it's a very subtle thing that these are nylon straps. So you can click through straight to the right place. So all the products go through to the cart or to the buy now page, but just thinking about stuff like that. So when this email goes out and it's a leather strap, the blue line goes underneath the leather. It's just subconsciously telling people, you know, it's, I suppose it'd be called foreshadowing in the movie thing, but you're kind of like, or signposting, right? You're just telling people kind of what to think and what you're about to tell them as they scroll down. Oh, okay, we're talking about nylon straps today. But like I was talking about, so many options, you know, like product ones, copy ones. There's a lot that you can do. Remember that the image at the top is going to be probably your most clicked link, or the next one down. So that would be shop now, take survey, and shop now as well. Like those ones are going to be pretty much your most clicked links. So again, the tone, you know, with tone, if you're an accountant, it's very different to selling camping gear. So you got to think about that. Like with the accountant, hi there, this month we're bringing you all the information you need to know about proposed changes to the Brightline test and interest deductions on investment properties. You know, it's a little bit dry tone, right? A little bit of personality, but then, and then on the other one, you know, it's just pretty much all about the cool camping gear stuff. And that changes a little bit too, depending on what's being sent out. So think about what's going to work for your business, and what's going to work best is however you sell in person. That tone of voice, just write it down and you'll do a good job. So navigation. So like I was just touching on that before, but it's pretty clear in here, right? Like at the top, we've got those 4 things. So some people might have buy now, like on some emails, you might have the logo off to the left and then shop now on the right, or whatever call to action you want. Like for example, in a florist email, you might have the phone number there, because in mobile, you can just click and order. So order your flower, order now, and have the phone number there. You could do that. So but thinking about navigation off to the website where you want it to go, and then also through the email. So as you can see, like it's very simple. It just goes down and it's very clear how you're meant to read this email. So I see a lot of emails are a bit inconsistent. So, and from email to email as well, excuse me. So like, instead of having that big image at the top, for example, that might be down below, or instead of having a heading, say if there was a heading underneath shop now and it said this week's top deals, you know, think about having things like that consistently placed as well in your email, because it just makes it easy for people to go, oh, if I scroll down a little bit, I'm going to see this week's top deals. So having a think about how that looks in your emails. I mean, there's so many options, right? Of how to design an email. I mean, I particularly like some of the imagery in this. The creative one's really cool. But like that plant mums tip, right? It's like, it's very simple, clear. If you click on it, it's probably going to take you to more tips, because that would make sense. So many options of the design. I think that some of the tools are making it a lot easier to actually create some really beautiful designs now as well. I said to go to reallygoodemails.com once before. I think get some inspiration from there. The templates within MailChimp and Klaviyo and, you know, ActiveCampaign, like, you know, they've generally been sitting there for a while. So you want to go elsewhere and find what's new and fresh for you. So the length of the email. So this is where we talk about how long it is, right? That's one thing. But also, like, we just see this message clipped a lot. And what that means is that even if the images are there, it's not going to be, and this is all going to change in September when iOS 15 starts getting rolled out. But like, it's not going to be seen as an open right now. I think that's actually going to become more of a problem when iOS 15 comes out, because you'll just be losing even more stats. And to be honest, there's so much to that. Yeah, it's crazy how much there is to that whole thing. It's not as bad as what people think, and there's actually some opportunities. But you don't need to have this. This is really easy to get rid of. You know, one way is actually exporting the HTML out and actually seeing, like, you can actually see like how big the file is, and it'll tell you whether it's over 102 kilobytes or not. And that 102 kilobytes is just the Gmail cutoff, right? But it looks terrible. It's not a very good experience for the email user, you know, because you have to click on it and open the whole thing up, and sometimes there's all this footer missing, or there's products missing. And by the way, it's nothing to do with, or not really to do with the size of your images, like how many kilobytes they are, although, you know, try and keep them as low as possible. It's mostly to do with how heavy the code in your email is. So that's why if you export it as HTML, you can actually see like how much kilobytes your code is. I mean, no one on these calls is probably going to do that, but just how you keep this in mind as you think about how much content, how much you've written, because every word, every letter adds up. You think about removing stuff that you don't need potentially because you've grabbed another a template from somewhere or another email. A lot of people just get their last email and start from there. Like there's a lot of like extra code in there that you probably need to cut out. So I would always start from a nicely designed template that is, we use the hybrid templates that we can like drag and drop around, and it's the lightest code possible. But I see this a lot, and I just feel like it's pretty easy to not do it. So removing this to me is a waste of space. It's pretty easy to remove in all email platforms, and you need to get rid of it. And because what it means is it's actually pushing your email down in the preview pane, and no one views emails online. Like, you know, it's just not really a thing anymore. I'm sure someone would say, oh, I sometimes do. And yeah, but you know, compared to like the 99.9% of other people who don't, you know, it is a waste of space. It's been a waste of space for a long time. And I'm not sure why even these platforms still have that sitting in their templates, because it's just not a good experience on mobile, especially. So remove it. You don't need it. And it means that you can push that thing up and get to your calls to action a lot faster. Content is king. I used this slide the other week, so I used it again because I like it. But I think, you know, content is king, right? What you're sending to people is definitely king. I wanted to just talk to this again, just reminding people how we read. It's an F shape. Well, how we read in Western, you know, in the Western world, we read from top to bottom, but left to right. That's how we read. So thinking about where you place stuff, and do you know what? Sometimes how it looks is not as important as how it reads and how it gets the action that you want. You know, too many people are thinking about, I've said that a lot today, and I suppose it's because, you know, I've done a lot of workshops now and talked to a lot of SMEs and dealt with a lot of smaller businesses. And it's like, this is something that I just feel, so the majority of people who are doing it themselves are actually like, they're using the drag and drop editors and they're not thinking about this stuff. But because it either looks good or they're in a rush. And the thing is like, this is an important piece of communication, and that email address follows people around the internet. Like, to me, it's gold. Like it's actually such a valuable thing. And when you see that, say, for example, a social user is worth $1.25 in someone's stats, and it cost us like $1 or so just to get them. And then an email user is worth $11, and it cost us $1 to get them as well. You know, you've got to keep all of this stuff front of mind if you can, right? So rewatch them. Whenever I'm taking a workshop, I always take notes and rewatch them, the important stuff. Maybe watch them faster too. So look, think about this. Keep this in mind. Here's some quick tips. Treat your customers like VIPs. You know, treat them like individuals. You know, it's so much easier to sell to an existing customer, and yet so often we don't. We're always looking for those other customers, right? And using Facebook and social to run those promos to get those new customers in, and then cleaning out the ones who are just there for the competition. That's a great tactic to use. But in the meantime, you know, I would be always segmenting out people who open the most emails, who click, you know, the most emails, who spend the most with you. Like, treat them special. And I know you might be thinking, oh man, Glenn, I'd love to do that, but I just don't have time. Like, well, that means that potentially you need to look at your time and where you're spending it, because these people are really important to your business, and sometimes they get overlooked. In fact, a lot of the times they get overlooked, and they actually just feel a bit like, oh, okay, and they move on to someone who treats them better for the first 6 months to a year, right? But you know, retention's really important. I like to send things out to people who don't expect it, right? Just send them something in the mail. You know, like Josh and I, who I mentioned at the top of this, a bit of a shout out. Him and I work on direct marketing campaigns and do that kind of thing, because it works, you know. Getting something in the mail is so rare these days that when it happens, and I mean, shivers, you could just put some lollies in their next thing, and a little note, a handwritten note that says, hey, thanks for being a customer, I really appreciate it. It's going to make a big difference. You are never too busy for that stuff, ever. I know you think you are, but you're not. Just that little pause, it's going to make someone's day. It's going to make them smile, and they're going to talk about you, because they're going to talk about, oh, I just got this today. We're never too busy for that stuff. Keep things short, you know, just the least amount. I believe in sending less more often. So when people talk to me about frequency, and they've got some really big long newsletter, how about we just split it out and send it weekly? You know, send one thing weekly. That would be useful, right? Like a quick tip or an offer, just one a week. So much more, it's going to have so much more impact than this big thing, right? So be useful, always be selling, you know, always be selling. Thinking about, like, am I getting to the sale? Is that person going to come through to my website and buy? So just be thinking about that, right? And be you and show some personality, like I said. So these questions, I think these are really important questions, so much so that I've said it a few times now, but just ask yourself, you know, what does my audience expect? And what are my goals for my business and my communication? So email with purpose is aligning your email marketing or with your business objectives. So, you know, I want to grow my business. Great. We're going to do list growth for the first 6 months of this year, because that's going to grow my business. So just thinking about, like, what you're doing, and think about every email that goes out, like, what's the purpose of it, and reevaluating those goals and that purpose, you know, every year when you do your strategy. So remember that content starts here. By here, I mean that sign up form. And, you know, where we say what we're going to send, where we say what they're signing up for, you know, this is where it starts, right? And this should make it relatively easy to think about what you're going to send, because it starts right from the beginning. And I believe that content can be quite easy. Just if you just spend a few minutes on it a day, you can send a lot more emails and a lot more quickly. So if we think about, like, we're sent that email is due to go in 4 days time, right? Day one, we come 3 days back, we go day one, like, we write down our ideas, what we want to send, just jot them down. If we've got a marketing planner, we're going to put them into there. We're going to get into, so that's maybe 10, 15 minutes, right? Max, you know, okay, we're going to do this week. Cool. Leave it. You could park it. Next day, you get back and go, okay, right. Yep. Here's the notes I made. I'm going to do this, this, and this. Get into the detail, leave it. Yeah. You know, and then get on with your day. And then the next day, you know, build your email. Okay. I'm logging in. I'm dragging and dropping. I know what I need to grab. I've put everything I needed in a document. Boom, done. Maybe half an hour, you know, 3/4 of an hour max. And then, like, you know, you've tested it, and then you schedule like that. Make it easy for yourself, instead of, like, at that last minute, you know, don't be that person, because it just makes it stressful. And to be honest, you will probably not send that email. And then what happens is you lose your consistency. And consistency, as my mantra goes, is consistency, trust, loyalty, and then people talking about you at the bars and barbecues. So you need that consistency, right? You need to stick to your schedule. And there's a pro tip here, is that just, you know, write clear calls to action, use those short sentences, and less is more. You know, clear calls to action that work for you. Is it buy now and linking it to the cart? Like, because sometimes, like, you can go, like in Shopify, you can go straight through. You can have a link that goes straight through to your add to cart instead of through to the product, which most people do. Just go through to the cart, and they're like, oh, it's in my cart. Okay, that was easy. They might just press buy, right? I mean, they might come out of it and have a look around, but like just thinking about like that clear call to action. You could even write add to cart, boom, buy now, and it's in their cart. Be pretty cool. Short sentences, and remember that less is more. So the footer, the last part of the email, so we've gone from the very top all the way to the bottom. This is quite important in some respects because people do quickly scroll down. I think having postscripts is still a good thing, like having some of your stuff right at the bottom, maybe repeating your main call to action just above that line there, where above the Facebook icon, you could, like, this week's top deals, you could have something in there, because someone might just flick and do a scroll, it goes to the bottom, this week's top deals, or have something consistent in there that they can link through to a page that you might update weekly. But like, just think about what's in here, your contact details, your socials, through to the website. But lay this out nicely, design some nice icons, make it easy for people to get through to your website and to get hold of you. I mean, in all likelihood, they're going to hit reply, right? So make sure that they can actually hit reply. So following on, I'd like you to keep these points in mind, right? Clear calls to action, using short sentences and paragraphs. Think about white space, especially on mobile. Don't fill everything up. It makes it very hard to read and hard to navigate. Making sure you add hyperlinks into your copy. Google has taught us to click on blue underlined links. So you might not do them blue because it doesn't fit in with your color palette, but like you could actually just make sure, like, you put an underline, people know to click. So thinking about that, and you could have some of those in your intro copy, and you'd be surprised at how many, if you write it nicely, like what people will click on. Text formatting, nice font. Those website fonts, I think we did a list of those in the last workshop. So thinking about that, and then just thinking about, like, make sure your font sizes are a decent size for people to read. So my pro tip at this stage is to have a schedule you can stick to it. And then, every industry is different. And we got some really great questions. There was a baker and was thinking about sending, they were sending monthly and thinking about sending fortnightly. And I was like, wow, you could send like the loaf of the week. And it's all about getting a schedule and being able to, and sticking to it and making things easy to produce. So remember to have a plan, a monthly plan. This one was based on the accountant's newsletter further back. So you've got like the month, got the intro copy. I mean, this is just in an Excel spreadsheet or Google Docs, right? So easy to use. You could get well ahead of yourself and just make life really, really simple. You can see that down there, the block sections, we actually wrote descriptions about what goes in there. So really, like, simple plan, or you can get a weekly plan and start to get a bit more serious if you're doing e-commerce, for example. Having your links, making it really easy to produce these emails. So here's my top 5 mistakes. And these are based on a lot of the reviews. Oh, this is what happened last time. So the top 5 mistakes you're making, maybe. Not everyone is. But from the hundreds of audits and reviews we've done, these are the top 5 things we see, especially in MailChimp. So lists are not properly segmented. Everything's just dumped in there, right? The other thing we see is too many lists. I think the most lists we've seen is 51. So what was happening is every time that someone sent an email, they would upload a list, and that just adds to your content count, your audience count. It's just costing you money, but also you're missing out on potentially on the unsubscribes, and you're also, which is not good. And then also you're just missing out on a whole bunch of really good data. So, have one list and start segmenting them into whatever works for you. It could be location. If it's VIPs, it could be by how much they spend, how often they spend, whatever works for you, cats, dogs, all that stuff. No pre-header text. You need that pre-header text. There's a very valuable piece of real estate, especially in the inbox. And as you saw in that example that I had, is that from, and then the subject line, and then the pre-header. Like if that had actually carried on from the competition, that probably would have worked better. Frequency of campaigns. They're either too low or too high. So most of the time it's too low. So lately though, I remember seeing this somewhere, that they'd received an email, or that's next minute, they're just receiving like daily emails. That's ridiculous, right? Like if you are a business that sends daily emails and people know that they're signing up for that, that's okay, but they know that. But if you're like a service business or something that probably has no reason to be sending daily, and like someone just suddenly starts getting all these emails that they weren't expecting, man, they're going to either mark them as spam or they're going to unsubscribe very, very quickly. So, never bombard people. So, some people get quite excited about email marketing and start sending heaps of emails. But the problem is with that is that they can't keep it up. So not only are they, bombarding people and sending too many, but also they can't keep that frequency up. So like I said, it all starts at the sign up form. Tell them what you're going to do, excuse me, and then stick to that schedule. Poor subject lines, just not thought about, not A/B tested, just, writing one subject line instead of 2 or 5. Always take the time to write a couple of subject lines. And then if you've got a big enough database, so 1,000 or more, A/B test them. And missing alt tag and the text. So it just means that when you're putting your images in and they're not there, there's nothing on them. So you can just see all this like blank space. Not very good for people who are hard of sight. They have poor sight because they might be using readers. So they can't listen to your email, what's in it. And it just like, it looks terrible, but also you're missing links as well. So if you put some copy in there, or you put the alt text in there and it's linking off to somewhere, like that'll look like a link. So just quickly, I've got a couple of minutes, I just want to do a quick case study. So a clothing retailer was looking to drive traffic in store for a 3-day clearance sale. So what we did is we sent out an email for 3 different offers within the sale, right? And like they received like record sales, but it was pretty simple stuff, right? And the return on investment of that was more than 20 times. So basically for every $500 they were spending on email marketing, they got over $10,000 in sales. Now, this is still applies today, right? So, 3 emails, we actually resent some as well. And just, the return on that spend was huge. And I just want to give you an example, like the return on email marketing is just a lot higher than anything else. Another one we did is there was a car brand that had a new car launching, right? So a new Jeep thing, and it was a 4x4. So what we did is we sent an email out to the whole database and we said, hey, we've got this new vehicle coming in. Are you interested? Then we sent another one just to make sure we'd got everyone. And then we segmented out those people. We only emailed to those people. And we said, right, we've got a launch event happening. We'll let you know, because like it's quite hard for some of the car dealers to know when they're actually going to get those vehicles. It's sometimes last minute. And then as soon as we had a date, right, we sent out another email, right? Would you like to register for the event? Yes. Then we RSVP'd, and then we sent them something in the mail, and we sent them in a really nice invite, and it had their name on the number plate, which was pretty cool. And that entered them into a draw if they bought it in. So then we had 130 people turn up on the night. Now, usually they would have hundreds of people turn up for the free food and drinks, right? And hardly anyone would buy, or no one would buy. So they didn't want to do that. So 130 people turned up on the night. We actually sent them a text in the morning. So as you can see, we're doing everything, right? We're not just emailing them. we've sent emails, we've sent them something in the mail, and we've sent them a text message to make sure they're going to turn up to the event, right? 130 people, 6 cars on the night, another 3 that week. There were more later as well, but we could attribute the 9 cars to the 130 people were there, like directly attribute them. And it was $1.4 million return. So that campaign like cost like $1,500. On my side, there was some other print costs, but like it was a pretty cheap thing. And I think like maybe $2.5 grand all up, including printing and stuff. And they got a 900x return. So, you know, like thinking about smart marketing campaigns, that's why I've put that one in there, is just like using everything. Because in all honesty, I don't care how we get that message across. Email marketing right now is the best return on investment for that message. But like, you know, just do whatever it takes. So look, it's time to win with your business, right? Not just your marketing, but with your business. So if you'd like some help, go to spike.co.nz and click that big orange button. So I'll stop sharing now.
Oh, because we do have questions. I kind of saved them to the end because I knew, you know, one question kind of spirals into the next question. I know you wanted to touch on some other things as well.
Yep.
So let's start at the beginning. So it says, I've just signed up for the light version of Active Campaign. And just for everyone's knowledge, if you haven't been seeing the chat, I've actually popped in the websites for Active Campaign, Klaviyo, MailChimp, Unsplash. What else have I put in there? I've put heaps of links there, really good emails.com. So you can check out all those links for your reference. Now, the question is, I've signed up for the light version of Active Campaign. Where do I start? I want to start getting people online training with us. From this evening, we run 2 martial arts studios. Cool.
Well, okay, this is very interesting, right? Because I was just on a call with the Active Campaign guys yesterday. So I suppose it depends on where you're at. So if you have contacts that you've been emailing in your Gmail, you know, you could export those out. If you've been staying top of mind with them, my kids go to Kempo and or my son does. And yeah, we receive emails from them a lot. It's really good actually, because they talk about the different classes that are coming up, which ones are going to be cancelled, obviously. And it's a really good direct line when gradings are happening, what else they're doing within the studio. So really, you've got to get permission from the people who are in your studio, and you start from there. And you export that into a CSV file, and you import it.
What's a CSV file? Whoa. What's that?
It's a comma-separated values file. It's one type of file that is used in Excel.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you were using Google Sheets, can you export it that way as well?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You just download it as a CSV file.
CSV, people. CSV.
Instead of an Excel, docs, Excel TX or whatever it is.
CSV.
And that means that you'll have their name and their email address in 2 columns. When it's comma separated, how it looks to the computer when you're uploading it is it just has a comma in between all the data fields. And
okay, so there's a follow-up question here, and I think like it's important to so it says, yes, I sent out an email to 900 people last night, but don't know how many people received them, as we're still getting queries we answered in the email. That would be something you would look in Active Campaign. It would tell you your click open rate, right?
Absolutely. Log into Active Campaign, go into reporting, and it will tell you, and click on that campaign, and it will tell you exactly what happened. So, yep, they've got really good reporting in there. So log in, have a look, and you'll see how many people opened it, how many people clicked. Hopefully you had lots of links in there through to the website.
You can do it yourself. She's just saying, you know, Sue's just saying, can I do this myself, or do I need someone, like someone's help? This, if you wanted to look at that report, that's a part of your plan.
And if you need some help, contact
Glenn.
Contact us. We're always happy to have a chat.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think would you recommend then with people who didn't open that email, then doing a follow-up email? I know you love a follow-up.
Yeah,
So
depending on timing, I'd be resending that within 3 days for sure.
mhm, mhm,
You know, if you're not going to send another email for a week or for like not even a week, for a month, and but the event's coming up or the trainings in a couple of days, like, yeah, I'd resend it to the people who didn't open it, just to
mhm.
make sure that everyone in that database had a chance to see it.
Does it do that automatically in Active Campaign, like kind of tell you the list of people who opened it? How do you, so it'll give you their email list, right?
Yeah, so what it'll do is, as you're scheduling the next one, you can just send it to the unopens.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's just a drop down in there.
Just had
Yeah,
two huge hawks flying by. Sorry, I got a bit distracted. I was like, geez. Okay, perfect. Sorry.
that's funny because I just had some spur-winged plovers earlier, like attacking the local hawk.
Thought, what are they carrying?
Yeah.
Okay, so it says Lara, welcome, Lara. I always love seeing this person on here. So is that length for your Gmail and Outlook? I find Gmail has a much lesser limit. So this is when you were talking about like your word length. So is that length for Gmail and Outlook?
Outlook doesn't really apply. It's only Gmail.
Okay.
Yeah, Outlook, I mean, that'll open pretty much anything, you know. But
Okay.
Gmail is the biggest email platform, like it's the most used one in the world.
Mm.
Like, so yeah, yeah. So Gmail is the specific one with 102 kilobyte limit, which
Okay.
is an odd
Perfect.
number. Like, but anyway, that's what it is.
Fantastic. Thanks, Glenn. Next question. What do you mean by code? Is this just text or something else?
So when you build emails properly, you use what's called HTML code. So code is, if you actually view that email, you can actually, if you're using MailChimp, Lara, you can actually, like in the preview pane, you'll see the code on the right-hand side. Like when you go through the design phase, that's code. That's HTML code. And so that's, yeah, that's what that is. The code is like, look when you, if you're in MailChimp, I don't know what you're using, but it's really clear. You go through the steps to design an email. The design pane is on the left. The code pane is on the right. That's
Okay.
code. And
Okay.
that has weight.
Yep.
The
Yeah,
more
that's
code.
right. Like JavaScript, HTML, all of that has like weight. Do you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, like there's some good, videos on that kind of stuff. You should have a look on digitalboost.co. Contact support, they can help direct you as well.
Yep. And
Yeah, because it's
what's alt text is the next one from
yeah.
Lara. So alt text is the alternative text on images. And some people, like, they drag and drop their images on and they forget to fill out the alt text. And the alt text is what is seen when people don't download images. And you can actually make an email look really cool without images, just using the alt text. Like, you can actually format it, size, color. You can do quite a bit with it. And it's pretty neat. And then when the images come down, so we would do things like, say you've got an image, and that image is, I'm just going to say brown because that's what's in my head. You could do the table cell that it sits in. You could color that brown, and then you could have, like, instead of like nothing in there, you could have like this week's wood specials. I'm just spitballing, but like, thinking about colors,
Yeah.
you can actually make emails look really cool.
So are you
Without
kind of
images.
saying, Glenn, are you saying that in that area, because I guess like I think of alt text for people who, yeah, I guess I don't know what it was for actually now that I say this, but I thought that perhaps you're just describing what the image is, but what you're saying is
You are.
you don't have
Yep.
to do that.
No, like you could have what, I mean, you would actually, like, all websites have alt text as well, right? And that's what Google is reading, that alt text for that image. And the image name generally has to match what the image is. So, I mean, basically it's just a written description of the image. Actually, maybe I should have said that. Alt text is a written description of, as a written description of an image. It just means like you know what's on that image. So if you have an image that is a buy, like that has a sales offer on it, you just write the sales offer in the alt text. So
right. Okay. So if it said like discount 20% off, and that was an image, it was actually like a JPEG or something in your email, you would just write that text there so that they would get it either way. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Lara's next question, like, we'd love to have a webinar where you actually build us an email so we can get our heads around this for those of us
semi-literate.
That looks, no, she's written illiterate.
Yeah, semi-illiterate.
No. I can see what you're saying. Anyway, computer people. Look, we're not at this point of the webinar of the workshop today, but yes, we are doing that. So James McComb and I are putting together a workshop to do that. Digital Boost is going to help us promote that. So him and I are going to have a workshop. I think it's next week, where we're going to take people through reporting and through more of the reporting side and what it means when you send stuff. But from that workshop, there will be an opportunity to come to one of our, we've never done, I have, but we're going to do a live workshop, which will have a nominal fee to cover our costs. And we're actually hoping, we had a great call yesterday. I'm just going to put this out there because maybe they'll see it and it'll prompt them, with a very large corporate. And I said that I wanted some scholarships. So maybe if they could provide funding for some scholarships. So I'll put it out there and I'll say I said it on my workshop, and then we'll see what happens. But or James and I will provide some scholarships as well. So I think that'll be awesome. But
so that's going to come out. So you've got that session next week with James McComb. He is the owner of E-commerce Command. And together they are James and Glenn.
We are James and Glenn, but actually we've decided to we're going to put that under Spike Advisory Services, or talk about being fractional CMOs. So a fractional CMO is basically most people wouldn't be able to afford us full time, but for a fraction of the cost and the time, you get 100% of our brains.
Look, we love that. So many folks like yourself, providers, put through some really great things for our digital boosters, and I think that's because you understand and we understand that capital is an issue for small businesses, especially in a lot of the current climate. And we've been really lucky to have some really great offers come through from folks like yourself, with lots of help involved, lots of support. And we really appreciate that here at Digital Boost. It's been a fantastic journey to see people get involved.
Our free reviews, they're always open. If you want a free review of your business for Digital Boost people, always happy to do that, because for us, everything starts with a review. And look, this is where we were talking about at the beginning, and I'll just say it, but this guy from Dan Walker from Microsoft talked about the mana economy. I really like that, about reciprocity and community, and I'm like, wow, this is what we're part of, right? We're part of this mana economy. So we're always happy to help people out, do these reviews for them, so at least they have a benchmark of where they're at, and then point them in the right direction. Because look, I'm going to put it out there, like in this, because I have a very strong opinion about this, which I talked about in our, while you and I were having a chat. The fact is that most business owners are under a lot of stress, and part of that is they feel they need to feed the beast that's called social, for example. And what we found through our reviews is that when we actually show them the value of a user, they start to realize, well, okay, so my time, to be more effective, if I go and spend time building my customer list, writing good emails that lead into blog posts, instead of just posting into the ether, my business is going to grow a lot faster. And I'm seeing a lot of businesses who just say to us like, oh, but I'm posting on Facebook, I'm doing this. And I'm like, great. Are you taking people from Facebook to your MailChimp list? No. So you've got to be doing that. You've got to be tactical. You've got to be thinking about social as a education and a brand building and a way to use promos to build your customer list. Because as I said right up the front, the value of your business is in your customers, and the multiplier you'll probably get if you think about selling that business is going to be how often you've stayed in contact with them. And I wish more people would talk about this, and instead of promoting spending, being on social, I'm not saying that that's not a thing, but most businesses in New Zealand are 3 or less people. That is not a good use of your time, not yet. When you're at more people, that's a good, and you can start using it tactically. That's going to be a great use of your time. Until then, man, every touch point. Have you got an email address I can send stuff to?
And I think it's a really good thing to mention again and again that you don't own Facebook. You own your customer data list. That's yours.
Yeah, it's
that's what
rules.
you own. So building something that's an actual asset. It's like when we talk about liabilities versus assets in economics in general, like a car is a liability. Like you might have a nice car, but at the end of the day, the minute you drive it off the lot, it's worth less. Do you know what I mean? And that's to say, it's the same with Facebook. It's like, that's really great, but you don't own that,
No.
It can be taken from you at any time.
Yeah,
so,
and it's just a website. At the end of the day, it's just a website.
I think
a website is a walled thing. It's not the internet.
Yeah.
The internet is so big. Facebook is small compared to the internet.
But you know what I think? There was another thing that you said to me not long ago, and it was something, seeing a lot of people being busy or it wasn't busy, but you said there's a difference between something and effectiveness. You said, being effective and
efficiency and effectiveness.
Yeah.
Because so many people are working on efficiency, but it's not. They need to work on being effective.
I love that.
And look, I'm working on this all the time in my own business, right? This is not something that you're ever going to stop doing. And so, always asking yourself, is this a good use of my time? I also think if you want to think about who your target audience is, I think Grant Cardone has the best question. You have to ask yourself, who's got my money? That is such a good question to ask. And do you know what? Mostly it's all the people in your customer database who you know. That's a great place to start, right? And so, who's got my money? I do like that. It's actually on my board in front of me because I want to keep my clients, because I don't think just about my own business, right? I think about all my clients' businesses as well, which can be a bit hard. But it's asking yourself, who's my audience? Who am I talking to? And what are my goals? It's going to really help you out. So I think today
we should finish on that because it's just really rich in content there. Let it soak in. Let it soak in, folks. This is the gold. These are these nuggets.
And stay safe. And if you've got any, when it comes to what's just going on in Auckland, across the country right now, as we head into this time, just everyone stay safe. And I think about communications to your customers today, what can you get out there that hopefully you've already sent before, so you don't have to reinvent it. Get it out there, say you're still trading under these terms or whatever, and let's just keep the economy going and keep your businesses going.
So there is one more question, but I would recommend maybe give Glenn a call, contact Glenn and let him, because we are out of time now. And that's kind of a loaded question about how much should you spend and stuff like that. So maybe contact Glenn and, and I just want to say,
cool.
Yeah. And I just want to say that, I notice because we're in lockdown, we possibly can schedule our days a little bit differently. So you might be tuning into a chat tomorrow. If you want to learn about search engine optimization, we'll be getting into that. So I hope you join us. Get your cup of coffee,
Yeah.
sit down. We only have to be dressed from here up this week, we can all just have our jammies on and yeah, so I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. And Glenn, I just want to thank you again because it's always a pleasure, and I really value these sessions with you. I get inspired. I get like all fired up from what you say.
Thank you, and I appreciate
Really
the courtesy.
good.
I appreciate the courtesy of everyone's time as well, and I hope there's some nuggets in here that you can go and put into practice today.
Yeah, and everyone, thanks for thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Let's see if I can get the right hand. Nope. Ka kite, everyone. I always use the wrong hand. Okay. Ka kite, everyone.